Join me today on Walk with History from the Battle of Chickamauga and the battles for Chattanooga from Georgia and Tennessee. Walk with History, historian and veteran. I'm here today at the battlefield site of Chickamauga and the subsequent battles afterwards for Chattanooga. But this is considered the gateway to the South during the Civil War because of all the railroad lines here. We're right on the cusp of the Tennessee and Georgia border. But what happens here is you have your logistics into the South that happen here and your logistics into the North that happens here. After the Middle Tennessee has been taken by the Union, this is the next location for the Union to concentrate its efforts to have a gateway to the South. This will enable Sherman to make his march to Atlanta. Chickamauga battlefield, we're in Georgia. Once you start to hit the other battles of Chattanooga, Lookout Mountain, Mountain Ridge, and Chattanooga, you're going to move into Tennessee. You can see the signs out there that are blue, and you'll see signs that are red. They're going to show you the Union lines and the Confederate lines. But what is really neat about this battle is you get two of the most eccentric commanders of this battle. You're going to get Major General William Rosecrans. He likes to work late hours. He likes to bore his subordinates with long, tireless talks, and he brings his own Catholic priest with him. Then you're going to get Confederate General Braxton Bragg, and he has a fiery temper, very much supported by the Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Now these two men will meet here, and it's interesting because they both graduate from West Point, but that's where their similarities kind of end. Rosecrans had never lost a battle to the Confederates, and Bragg, a Confederate, had never won a battle against the Union. Of the Confederate Breakthrough. This is the decisive event of the Battle of Chickamauga. It's going to occur here on September 20th, the second day of fighting at about noon, 11 a.m., where the Confederates are going to break the Union line. Now, Rosecrans had made a bad decision earlier where he had made a gap in the Union line. He had reinforced his left side of the Union and meanwhile left this fatal gap. And that's this area here where the Confederates are able to break through. This is going to be an embarrassment for the Union, much like Bull Run was an embarrassment for them the first time. So here we are at Snodgrass House on the battlefield of Chickamauga. We have one of the most incredible stories of the Civil War. The only Union Corps commander who had not fled the battlefield was Major General George H. Thomas. He was a Virginian who remained loyal to the North following his state's secession. He held the Army's fate in his hands here, and nearly 25,000 men, or about half of the Union Army, rallied around him. Old Pap, they called him, here at Snodgrass Hill. And he stood firm on the Federal left. He fended off repeat attacks by 11 Confederate brigades. Thomas's courage, determination, his personal presence inspired his officers to make one of the most remarkable defenses in the entire Civil War. And what's very interesting is the Union general in charge, Rosecrans, his chief of staff is James Garfield, future President James Garfield. And it's Garfield who arrives here with orders to Thomas and telling him to retreat. And Thomas growls back, refuses, and says this position must be held until night. An impressed Garfield dispatched a message back to Rosecrans in Chattanooga stating that Thomas was standing like a rock. For the rest of his life, Thomas would be heralded as the Rock of Chickamauga. Chickamauga is called the River of Death by the Cherokee, and this battle had earned that nickname. The battle's human toll was staggering, more than 34,000 killed, wounded, or missing. Chickamauga was the bloodiest battle in the Western theater and the bloodiest two-day battle of the Civil War. Victory at Chickamauga was incomplete, though. The Union Army had been driven from this battlefield, but not destroyed. It escaped and reoccupied the city of Chattanooga, and that was the original objective. And Bragg didn't go after them. He felt like his army needed to relax. They needed to reorganize. They were exhausted. But what happened was, as the time went on, the Union Army was able to fortify that area and stay put. Now, Bragg knew there was no logistic lines going into there, so he wanted to kind of wait them out. 2 weeks later, Bragg's subordinates are going to call for his removal, including Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest. But, and even Longstreet doesn't feel like he should be in charge anymore. But there he's close friends with Jefferson Davis. And Jefferson Davis says, no, we're going to keep Bragg in charge. Well, 2 months after Chickamauga, Bragg lost the battles of Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge and Chattanooga. And he will eventually resign his commission from the Confederacy. And Grant has stepped in. After this loss of the Union for Rosecrans and such an embarrassment for the Union, Grant steps in. And when Grant steps in, he's the one who fights the Battle of Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge and Chattanooga. He's successful in all three, and that is when he's going to be named the general, the overall general of the Union Army. After the fall of Chattanooga to the Union, the Confederacy will wonder, is the fall of Chattanooga actually the end of the Confederacy? On to my next Walk with History.